When Pope Leo XIV urged French bishops to find concrete solutions for the generous inclusion of traditionalist Catholics, traditionalists everywhere breathed a sigh of relief. The Latin Mass might finally be welcomed back from the margins. But in Charlotte, North Carolina, Bishop Michael Martin didn't get the memo, or he got it and chose to ignore it. Speaking on America Magazine's Jesuitical podcast in March 2026, Martin made his position unmistakably clear. When asked about relaxing restrictions on the traditional Latin Mass, he dismissed the idea outright. "I thought the chances of Pope Leo XIV changing what Pope Francis had done were relatively slim," he said. He framed his own restrictions, reducing the number of Latin Mass locations from 4 parishes to a single chapel, banning altar rails across the diocese, and prohibiting kneelers for communion, not as personal preferences, but simple obedience. "All I did was implement Traditionis Custodes in the Diocese of Charlotte," he insisted. But his words revealed more than he may have intended. When traditionalists asked for more time to transition, Martin demanded, "If we need more time, then show me what you're going to do in the next 2 years so that things will change." Their response, he said, was simply, "We want to celebrate the liturgy this way." That, in his view, was insufficient. What Martin calls implementation has torn communities apart. The Hadi family, Edwin, Elizabeth, and their 5 children, moved to Charlotte 6 years ago partly because of the reverent liturgies they found. Their boys served both the Latin Mass and the Novus Ordo at St. Thomas Aquinas. Now their children feel torn between their parish and the one remaining Latin Mass chapel 30 miles away. Diane Stocker, who has attended the Latin Mass at St. Anne's since 2013, faces an impossible choice: abandon the liturgy she loves or leave the parish where she belongs. "It will be a loss either way," she said. The numbers tell the story. At St. Anne's, attendance at the Novus Ordo Mass that replaced the Latin Mass dropped from 450 to 200. Some families have started driving across state lines to South Carolina for the liturgy they can no longer find in their own diocese. Here's what makes Martin's position particularly striking. According to Brian Williams, an advocate for Charlotte's Latin Mass community, of the diocese's 44 seminarians, at least 75% are from parishes where kneeling has been the practice to receive Holy Communion. His small parish alone has produced 7 seminarians recently. Meanwhile, the mega-parishes that have embraced these liturgistic changes have produced maybe 2 of the 44, even though they account for tens of thousands of families. If Martin's goal is building the church of the future, he may be dismantling the very communities producing its future priests. Martin says he's not calling traditionalists some sort of lunatic fringe. He acknowledges goodness and holiness in their devotion. But his actions treat them as a problem to be managed rather than a gift to be welcomed. Pope Leo's letter to the French bishops took a different approach. It is troubling that a painful wound continues to open within the Church regarding the celebration of the Mass, the very sacrament of unity. Healing requires a renewed way of looking at one another, marked by deeper understanding of differing sensibilities, so that brothers, enriched by their diversity, may welcome one another in charity and in the unity of faith. That vision of unity through diversity is what Martin's diocese has lost. When asked why kneeling is a problem, one Charlotte priest put it simply, "It's the most intimate moment of the week for people who are receiving their God. Why go through all this bad PR? I don't understand it." The 31 priests who filed dubia asking the Vatican to clarify Martin's authority understand it all too well. The question isn't whether authority has bishops, it's whether authority exercised without listening, without understanding, without the generous inclusion the Pope himself has called for, serves the unity of the Church, or simply enforces uniformity at the cost of charity.